Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Chips and Talk. Grab a snack. Let's chat. I almost forgot my own podcast subtitle there. You know, I'm in episode 7, but just bear with me here, okay? Bear with me. But today will be a little bit different, okay? Number one, Ferguson is not with me right now. He's actually going out and buying some chips, and he'll come back. Just kidding. But I'm not going to have chips this time. I'm actually going to have cereal. Let me see if you can see it. There we go. Life cereal. This is one of the best cereals ever. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Ask your childhood, my friends. Ask your childhood. But, you know, cereal, do they count as chips? I think they count as chips. I really do think so. Okay, because, you know, without milk, you could, you know, in many ways, you could get chips, put them in a bowl, and put milk in them. That'd be really disgusting, especially with Cheetos. But, you know, obviously we do that with cereal, but, you know, who doesn't eat cereal just by itself? Just like as a snack, you know? It totally fits that way. It's super crunchy, it's munchy, it's solid, right? And God, majority of cereal is delicious, okay? Unless you go for like the really boring, you know, cereal, like the Cheerios that aren't actually honey. That's literally one of the reasons why I don't trust humans, because when I was a kid and I used to get some of that cereal sometimes, I was really excited because I thought it was Honey Nut Cheerios and I would munch on them. And I was like, fuck you. I was like, oh. As in, fuck you to life in general, you know, I was so pissed with life. It's one of the reasons why I'm an angry human being now. And it's why I particularly go to the store and I buy Honey Nut Cheerios once a week at least, just to make up for that trauma. But yes, Life cereal family size, the original, because cinnamon is pointless. The original is good enough, and I love putting it into a huge bowl with I don't like putting a lot of milk in my cereal. I like sogginess in cereal. I like the soggy version of Life cereal as well, but especially with this cereal, okay? But I love also getting the cereal slightly wet. This is a gross. Why did I even get to this discussion? Because of cereal. But here's the thing. I actually won't be chewing on some cereal. But I will give you the ASMR action, okay? Because, look, I'm actually bad at this, guys. I will be honest. I'm pretty bad at this. When I turn on this camera, I'm either full, and I don't really eat a lot of chips, or I've brushed my teeth, and I don't want to gross my teeth out again by eating chips. So, but I'm still going to give you that ASMR action that you would love to get. So, here we go. It's good, isn't it? It's good. Let me see. That's terrible. Why do I do this? I do this for you. That's why I do it. But let me put this back here. There we go. But for those of you who are just listening in audio through Spotify, Apple Music, I still have to get to Google Podcasts. But if you're on Spotify or Apple, thank you so much for subscribing to the podcast on those mediums and services. But you can also get the video version, okay? For those of you watching on YouTube, you're like, duh. But yes, thank you for those on YouTube. And if you want to see my beautiful face, please go on my YouTube, Super Jesus Jackson. But Chips and Talk, we literally grab a snack, we eat it while we discuss a random topic chosen by the internet. Very ingenious podcast idea, as I've said before plenty of times. Didn't come up with it in 3 seconds, but it's just so funny that that's the podcast topic essentially, and I just sometimes don't even eat chips, so. But you got the ASMR, and occasionally I'm going to bring it back and just be like, it's terrible. It's terrible imagery there. But yes, so let's go on randomtopicgenerator.com, of course. And I hope you have a great snack. Let me know down in the comment section below what snack you chose to have while you listened to my annoying ass voice. But here we go. Let's go to Google Random Topic Generator. It's called capitalizemytitle.com. I have no idea why it's called that, but yes, it is. Anyways, generate random topic. Here we go. Do you think people read more or fewer books now than 50 years ago? That's a very interesting topic, okay? Before we start, though, I'm going to start my timer for 20 minutes. I don't know. Part of why I also wanted to do this episode alone, besides just commanding Ferguson to go and get some chips, is because I like to kind of challenge myself. The first episode was about pets, and I'm not going to lie, it was pretty rough because I had to talk about, that specific topic for 20 minutes, which you think is easy, but it seems easy on the surface, but it's really not. And so I want to do this again, but here we go. I'm going to time myself starting now. Oh, there we go. Do you think people read more or fewer books now than 50 years ago? So I think the easy answer to that is fewer books, of course, because there's so many more distractions in the world nowadays that you got time to read a book. I'll be honest about my experience with reading books, okay? Can I read a book? Yes, I can. I can read a book. I am able to read print on paper or digitally or whatever it is, but I have a very low attention span, and this is not the case with someone like my girlfriend. My girlfriend is a bookworm. She will be reading multiple books at the same time and still be able to catch up with them. Okay, it's fantastic. I envy it. And she's able to keep attention, like she's able to be engaged with the book. Now, granted, here's the thing about anything in general. Is I have a low attention span with everything, okay? But I have found that, sometimes you get lucky, right? And you find something that really attracts your attention, like immediately, and you stay hooked, right? And as you continue engaging with that thing or medium, it engages you even more, right? So it's like a downhill snowball, right? Like an avalanche. So, but with books, sometimes I'm sure you get lucky. Sometimes you start reading the first page, the first chapter, and you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. Some other books take a lot of time to hook you. And God, I have given the time to certain things like video games. Sometimes I play a certain game a little bit longer than I need to get hooked, and it eventually happens. Sometimes I have to try doing the same thing multiple times throughout a course of 3 years in order to finally get hooked towards it. It happened to me with Fallout 3, this role-playing video game, where I tried it once, didn't like it, I didn't realize what the hype was about, played it again some other time later, and I was immediately hooked. And the same thing happened with Fallout 4. Inevitably. I got it the first day. I played it like 3 days. I got it the first day it came out, played it 3 days consecutively, and then I got so bored of it. I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I just let it go for like a few months. And then I went back to it. And then I didn't stop playing it for like 6 months probably, or longer than that. It's insane. Okay. And so I imagine that sometimes that's people, bookworms, find that same behavior in books, right? I'm assuming. But someone like my girlfriend, I think she's got a lot more patience than me. But I know I need to be more patient with things in general, but I'm a believer that you gotta be engaged and you gotta hook someone from the very beginning. Okay, if you don't, it's not their fault that they left. It's as simple as that. Okay, I look at, obviously, if you follow my YouTube channel, I mentioned Michael Jackson's Thriller as the greatest album of all time, and that's because it is consecutively. Well, one of the reasons is because it's so consistent, where every track is a killer for the most part. 9 out of 10 tracks, right? And that consistency is what hooks you, and that's part of what makes that album so great. And obviously, who wouldn't love a book where every chapter is amazing, right? And so I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that nowadays our generation has just a lower attention span. That's just what that is. So I'm a product of this generation. And a lot of it has to do with social media technology. We are obsessed with instant gratification. Reading books is kind of the complete antithesis of that. It takes time and mental labor to read a book. First of all, to even start anything for a human being is difficult. Think about it. Whenever you wanted to do something, how difficult is it to actually start doing it? Like, that's the hardest part, right? Opening the book, reading the first chapter, that's the hardest thing. Playing the first few hours of a video game, right? Like, we're obsessed with fear of the new, of the unknown, and we like being comfortable. That's what human beings like. They like the same thing over and over again. Human beings don't like change. But with change comes enlightenment, with change comes knowledge and growth. But I think a lot of it has, I think people read books now, there's probably not a lot of people out there that, no, you know what? I take that back. There's still plenty of people that read books. Probably it skews older, which makes sense, of course, because it's the past generation. But I do think ultimately there are fewer people who read books than 50 years ago. And again, a lot of that has to do with lower attention spans, which social media definitely accelerated the hell out of that. Technology in general, just think about it. We don't have to try so hard to do anything nowadays. Like, think about when you're writing a book report back in the 90s or 80s. Like, you had to go to the library and actually surf and use the Dewey Decimal System, and surf through files and ask the librarian for help, God forbid, But nowadays, you just go online. And, technology is a tool. It's a blessing, okay? It's not a curse. It's a curse only if you want it to be. I'm a believer of that 100%, is that nothing is inherently a curse. Everything is a blessing as long as you use it right, as long as you don't fuck it up, basically. And so technology is a fantastic thing. It's one of the greatest innovations ever. It's given so much independence to creators, independents, entrepreneurs, and just the individual. That's the best part. The individual is the greatest thing in this entire world. The importance, the value of the individual. God, I'm really going at it, aren't I? But, I just think a lot of these things have accelerated the use of other mediums like video games and streaming. I mean, just think about music, for example. Books can be equated to albums nowadays. Fewer people don't really listen to albums these days. There's still plenty of people who do, of course, but it's not in the religious way that it used to be. And a lot of that is because of just the analog days versus the quick instant gratification of the technology days. A vinyl, you have to take care of it. It actually was big and you had to store it. You had to actually take time to store it, take care of it, treat it with respect when you're using it because it was fragile. And it could ruin the audio quality if you mess with it too much. And, when you put it in your Victrola or whatever, in your record player, you would have to be sort of near, if you wanted to listen with headphones, headphones were plugged in, and you had to be in the vicinity of that record player to listen to that album. So in a way, you had to almost be forced to listen to that album because of the technological limitations. And nowadays we got streaming. You don't need to listen to a whole album anymore. You don't need to put so much care into it anymore. You just look up the album and you tap, and that's it. That's it. Vinyl, you got to take it out, you got to put it on, you got to get the needle right, it's all these little things that have made our lives easier on paper, but some people would argue once you make life easier, you make people more lazy, they have less of an attention span. Think of concept albums nowadays, right? That's not a thing anymore as much as it used to be. People don't have the patience anymore to make that. Now it's about singles and about TikTok dances, about social media videos that are 30 seconds, it has to be quick because the world moves faster than ever now. And the content that we produce has to fit in with that time frame. If it doesn't, it gets lost in the ether. And only the real people pay attention to it. Only the real human beings, the ones who care about culture and the arts. But that I don't want to think like that. I don't want to think like that. I think that's a very rigid way of thinking. I think there's beauty in everything. I think there's beauty in the instant gratification. I think there is greatness to be had in a single. There is greatness to be had in an album that's not necessarily a concept album. There is art and creativity in whatever medium. And I know I've gotten into a tangent, but it's all related. I'm sure if I surrounded myself with a lot of bookworms, if I went into book groups or book clubs, I'm sure there's still plenty of people who read books, 100%. And books still sell millions of copies. That's a thing, but obviously not as much as it used to be. And is it going to get worse? There's also the digital books. There's also that debate. I prefer physical books. I prefer physical things. I don't really like digital stuff. Like if I'm going to read a book, it'll be physical. Okay. And the last time I read a book was a month ago or something, or 2-3 months ago, I finished reading a book. I just had to focus on reading that book, and also I'm very bad at balance. I'm bad at balancing multiple things at the same time. Usually I like to go, full stop with something. And that's a plus and also a blessing. A plus and a blessing. No, it's a plus and also a negative. But hey, nothing's negative unless you want it to be, right? But no, I think books are fantastic. I think they're the oldest form of, other than just basic human storytelling, they are the oldest form, the oldest medium of art, right? Really. Just because, human beings talk to each other, they tell stories, and then books are just literally human beings writing it. But when you tell a story, you're still being creative and you're still deciding what details to put in, what not to, and stuff like that. But a book is a little bit more deliberate because it forces you to think a little bit more when you're writing it, right? When you tell a story to someone, it's easy to mess up. It's easy to say what you don't want to say. It's easy to make mistakes. And it's a lot harder to make up those mistakes and fix them because guess what? You already did it. You already said what you needed to say, right? Or what you had to say. And, obviously you get better at it as you continue doing it. But writing a book gets you a little bit more leeway, right? You can proofread your stuff. You can edit it. You could be like, oh my God, that doesn't look very good. I'm going to fix that. Or, I want this story to end in this particular way, and that's the way it's going to go. Just telling a story willy-nilly, talking to people, that there's art in that, of course, and that's probably the oldest form of art in general, no matter how you tell the story, just as communicating with people. But, it's not as deliberate. You know what I mean? And I think art, there is a little bit more greatness in intention with art and having more control. Art, there's art in improvisation. Don't get me wrong. And there's people that, master it 100%. But I think, when you look at something like Harry Potter, right? Sounds very cliche or whatever, but that world was deliberately constructed. And in fact, music, film, dance, choreography, in general, writing a book, it's super deliberate, and that's why it can be so powerful sometimes. And in the same way, of course, that's why improvisation can be powerful, because when it works, you're impressed. You're like, holy shit, you did not have so much control over this situation, but you still made it powerful. And that's great too. But books, I think that's part of the reason why art in general, not just books, hook people so much. And that's why it's so moving, because it's specifically concocted to move you and to be powerful. And do I think books will one day die? I don't think so. I don't think they ever will die. I think written form of anything will always exist. It has to, because there is some comfort in writing something and stamping it. In the same way that art in general, there's comfort in putting out a song, putting out a video, putting out a movie, in writing a book, because it cements someone's legacy. It cements someone's idea forever. Because human beings can't live forever. But books, art, writing, always will. And Maybe the medium will be a little different. Maybe it'll be practiced less. But I think the idea and the medium will always be there, 100%. And I apologize if you hear some noise in the background. It's my family there. Yeah. You understand. You totally understand. But there we go, guys. That was Chips and Talk. Grab a snack. Let's chat. Episode 7. Do you think people read more or fewer books now than 50 years ago? I hope you enjoyed it. And that is the ambulance coming for me, unfortunately, but not coming for you. But, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like. Comment down below as well. Share with your chips-loving friends. Tell me what snack you had. And also share the podcast. When you're either if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever it is, anything helps, guys. But thank you so much, and I look forward to the next episode. Please enjoy the sound of Life cereal, and if you've never had this cereal, you gotta go. It's part of my childhood. In fact, it's part of your childhood. You may not even know it.